Hello, my name is Rachel and I'm here today to talk about Louise O'Neill. I am a huge Louise O'Neill fan. I think she's probably my favourite author and has been for a while. I've just finished her new book, Idol. The whole point of this video is I'm going to rank all of Louise O'Neill's books because I've read them all. Her books are all over the place, like completely ridiculous. You're going from like thriller to dystopian to YA. Like it's just, she's, yeah, off the scale. I really enjoy her books and so I thought I would just, yeah, do a little bit of a fun video talking about Louise O'Neill today because I read her new book and that's all I'm gonna say with the no spoiler section. I am not planning to talk about any spoilers in this video, so you are free to watch until the end. I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about what the books are about and give you my ratings of them and where they fit in my adoration of Louise O'Neill stepladder, if you will. We are going to start off with the first book, which is The Surface Breaks. This is in the last spot on my list, and that is mainly because Louise O'Neill's books focus very strongly on feminism and women's issues and things like that, which she did in this book, don't get me wrong. But there is a ruthlessness in her other books in the way that she explores it that I love so much, and it's the thing that I love the most about her writing. And because this book is meant for younger readers, it's more like a YA audience, I find it doesn't have that gut-in thing where it takes everything out of me and takes my breath away, and this just didn't have that, which I think it wouldn't because it's, you know, it's for a younger audience. That makes complete sense. But I did really love this book, and it is a perfect book for younger readers to sort of be introducing some themes about women and feminism and things like that without being like super heavy. So The Surface Breaks is a retelling of The Little Mermaid. We have Gaia, who dreams of freedom from the control of her father, and this version of The Little Mermaid is happening off like the Irish coast. Obviously perfect. All her books pretty much are set in Ireland. I didn't get an Irish vibe from Idol. No, it's not. No. Yeah, Idol's not. But I think Only Ever Yours isn't, but I think her other four are all set in Ireland, I think. When Gaia swims up to the surface, she meets a human boy, as with, you know, the traditional fairy tale, and we kind of go from there. I really love with this book how Louise O'Neill subverts this fairy tale. It is fantastic. Like, please do not misunderstand. I love Louise O'Neill, so this is the bottom of a Louise O'Neill book, so that's already head and shoulders above everyone else, if you get what I mean. And the next book we have is After the Silence, and this is a thriller, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. Now this is in the 5th position on my ranking, and I'll be honest, the main reason for that is that it's a thriller. I do not really get on with thrillers. I don't really read thrillers. Read this because it's by Louise O'Neill, if that wasn't clear, and I did really enjoy it. Me and my best friend read it together. I think it might have been during the pandemic when we couldn't see each other. We started doing like a little book club together. It's very cute. We did both read this and sort of chat about it together. That's why there's loads of post-its in here with my little annotations on, which is super cute. This book follows Henry and Keelan Kinsella after a wild party at their house and a violent storm that engulfed the island. And after this party, a girl called Nessa Crowley, her lifeless body is found on the grounds of their house. That happened a while ago when this book opens, 5 or 10 years before this book. And then a documentary team come to the island to make a documentary about her death and what happened, because nobody knows what happened. And yeah, we kind of see it delve into that night, and we get flashbacks to what was happening, and we get different characters and all those things. This book is the first on the list where you really see Louise O'Neill's writing of unlikable women. I can't think of many of the main characters in Louise O'Neill's books that I actually like. They are very often unlikable, very often unreliable. I would say that the lady in this is very unreliable at times. I think that that is part of the charm with Louise O'Neill, where just because you do not like the main character or this female doesn't mean that what has happened to her is any less relevant or any less hard-hitting, if you see what I mean, which definitely comes into play in the other books in this list, but for now we're talking about this one. And I did really enjoy this. I think I didn't really care about the murder and the thriller aspect of it, because it's just not what I read for and I don't enjoy that genre. However, what I did enjoy was the focus on Keelan herself, on her marriage, on her obsession with herself and her body, how she looked, how she was coming across to other people, the other women in her life, so this girl Nessa, and how they both related to each other, the sort of threat that older women can feel when younger women come into their space. Absolutely fantastic. So good. So would really recommend this one, and this is in 5th position. So number 4 on the list is Asking for It, which is arguably Louise O'Neill's most popular and most famous book. So this is a YA story about a girl called Emma. She is from a small town and everyone knows she's special, she's beautiful, she's popular, she's powerful, and she works hard to keep it that way. Another unlikable character. She is a very unlikable throughout this book, especially at the beginning. However, then she is assaulted. I would say that the assault just continues. It just keeps on going. There is an assault that happens one night in the book, and then we follow the fallout as well. So the fallout on social media, with her friends, with her family, with all of the people around her. This was the first Louise O'Neill book that I read, and I wasn't ready for it. I remember that I thought about it for days and days afterwards. It's one of those books that really sticks with you. At times it is unbearable. Trigger warnings for every single one of Louise O'Neill's books anyway, but this one especially can be very difficult to read. However, there is a place for that, and it's one of the things that I love about Louise O'Neill's books, is that there is a place for this uncomfortability. It kind of makes you question your beliefs and also some of your stereotypes. The girl is annoying in this book, but obviously no matter how annoying she is doesn't make what happened to her right, and I kind of think that's the reason that Louise O'Neill chose to have her so unlikable, because actually whether someone's likable or not has no relation, or should have no relation, as to whether we believe them as a victim or feel sorry for them as a victim. I think I've pretty much said what Asking for It is about and talked about it anyway. This is a 5-star book for me. Absolutely love it. We are getting to the point where a lot of these books will range around in rating, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be in the order of that. So this is a 5-star, but the next book is a 4-star. However, I really enjoyed that book, and with this book there is something that is done at the end of this book that I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I understand why it's been done. I think it's the right decision to have been done, and it makes the story so much more hard-hitting. However, as a reader, and as you're like expecting certain story structures to come out and they don't, you can't help but be a bit disappointed by it. But that disappointment again is like, it's all into the mastery of this story, and I do think it's a fantastic story, but like I said, it just means that it's not my complete favourite. Asking for It, number 4. Next, as I've just mentioned, we've got a 4-star read for me. I read this at the start of this year, and it is the book that I've been putting off for so long, because once I read it I would have no Louise O'Neill books left, and then I found out Idol was coming out, so I was like, oh well, I can pick it up now. And now I've read this and I've read Idol and there's no more Louise O'Neill books, and I'm just like dying a little bit inside. But anyway, we don't need to cover that. I'll be fine. It is Only Ever Yours, and this was Louise O'Neill's debut book, which I really enjoyed reading. I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it as much as I did, and I don't know why, because I love dystopian and I love feminist literature, and this sounds like it would be up my alley, but for some reason I always just felt like it wouldn't be my favourite, so I didn't reach for it, and I wish I had read it sooner, but I'm glad I've read it all the same. And I'm also glad I have this colour rather than the one with the Barbie on the front, because I really like this cover. So in this we follow Frida. She is an Eve. So Eves are women, but they are designed, they are not born, and they are designed to be pretty, and they are trained to encompass what beauty is. So obviously they are made to be beautiful, but then on top of that they have beauty driven into them. Like, they are waxed, they are taught when to talk and when not to talk, that sort of thing. A lot of pressure. They wait for a man to choose them for a concubine, a companion, or chastity. So if it's chastity, they'll go and work in this school for Eves, or they can, yeah, be a partner. And so we follow Frida, who is in this school. We see her under the pressure of this situation, and we see her friends. I really liked Isabel in this story. She was a shining light in this, and she's supposed to be. But yeah, she was a fantastic part of this. And Frida, again, we've got another unlikable main character, but I think Frida is a lot more sympathetic than a lot of Louise O'Neill's other main characters. I really loved this book, and I didn't see what was coming. So I had some ideas about what would happen in this book to do with Frida and Isabel, and sort of the gossip, shall we say, that Frida got from the boy she was talking to. I don't know how to say it. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, because people might read it and think that that might happen, so I don't want to spoil it and tell them it won't. There was just something that I thought was going to happen and it didn't happen, and instead this whole other thing happened, and I was like, fuck. I was not expecting that. Really loved this for just not being predictable as well. I'm looking around this room because I listened to this on audiobook when I was doing a lot of the painting for this room, so this colour actually reminds me of this book. But anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. 4 stars, and it is position number 3. Obviously, then I have Louise O'Neill's 2 other books. So we have Idol and Almost Love. 2 beautiful, stunning hardbacks. This one signed by Louise O'Neill. This was really hard for me. I have loved Almost Love for years. I think I read it when I was in Switzerland and instantly was in love with it. And I really connected to it. And the things that she was talking about, I found more applicable than the other books. So what I mean by that is she focuses on relationships in Almost Love. The sort of need to prioritise other people's pleasure above your own. How, like, when relationships can get aggressive, or someone doesn't want you anymore but you keep pushing and that obsession with them stays. And I don't mean for me personally, I'm not saying I've been in that position, but I have been in relationships where I haven't been treated in the best way, and I think this was the book that encompassed that. So it felt a little bit more special to me because it was focusing on something that I cared about more. So this one's been my favourite ever since I read it. And then obviously I've recently read Idol, and yeah, spoilers, I really enjoyed it. And so it was really hard to think about which one of these books would come first. If it was down to cover, Almost Love, because it is stunning. This has been like my favourite cover for ages. However, I have decided that in second place is Almost Love. We'll talk about why when we get to Idol in a minute. But Almost Love. I gave this book 4 stars. The premise of this is that we follow Sarah, and Sarah falls for Matthew. And it doesn't matter that he's 20 years older, that he only sees her in secret, that slowly but surely she's sacrificing everything in her life to be with him. Her friends are worried, her father doesn't understand, and she's about to lose her job. But all she cares about is Matthew. Oh, unlikable narrators. This one probably takes the cake. I'd say this one and Asking for It are the most unlikable. Oh no, maybe Idol. But I think that one kind of keeps you on your toes with it for a little while. Whereas, yeah, she's flat out unlikable. You have her internal monologue of her having conversations with people and kind of slagging them off in her head at the same time, and then turning out to be horrible to them in the end. This, oh my god, I adore this book. It is so well done to sort of focus on the issues that it focuses on. Yeah, it just does them in such a good way, and I love this book so much. I remember I listened to this book on audiobook, and the names are obviously pronounced, and it's an Irish book, and I think I was watching an interview or something where she said she'd picked names that were more like middle class names that in Ireland and things like that, just to kind of place people in certain social classes through their names. And I remember that one of the guys she is dating, oh yeah, so there's Austin and Onag, and oh no, that might be Oisin. Unag, I have no idea how to pronounce it now. But at the time, I listened to the book and I thought nothing of it, and then I remember I picked the book up because I really wanted to buy a copy because I loved it so much. And I remember picking it up and being like, who the hell is that? That was never a person in it. And then I was like, oh, I just have no idea how to pronounce Irish names. Absolutely love this book. It is amazing and would highly recommend it. It's one of my favourite books, probably of all time. I'd put it in like maybe my top 30, which is quite good. Like, I've read a lot of books and I've read a lot of good books, and that making top 30 is very much a compliment. Obviously, in the first position then we have Idol, which I gave 5 stars. This is Louise O'Neill's brand new book that's just come out. So this follows Samantha. Samantha is an influencer, so she does like YouTube, she writes books, she holds like well-being classes and talks and things like that. Just a very much a like toes in every pool type of situation. She writes an essay for her new book that is coming out, and it is about her sexual experience with her best friend when she was younger. This best friend comes forward and says her memory of what happened is not exactly right, and that actually what happened was a sexual assault. This book basically is concerned with Samantha going back to her hometown, going back to her best friend from childhood, Lisa, and trying to make sense of why she would make such a heinous allegation against her when that never happened. That's kind of the basic premise of this book, which I don't want to ruin for anyone, so I'm not going to do that. However, this book is so well written. It's just like a constant, you know when people talk about icebergs and like underneath the iceberg it's just so much bigger. This one is like that times 1,000. It's just so layered. You only really see Samantha's point of view, but you have Samantha's point of view now and Samantha's point of view at the time around when this sexual act or assault happened. Oh, it's just so well written. It's so well written. And I think the thing when I was thinking about Almost Love, and I was thinking I love that book, but I couldn't look past the fact that this is definitely Louise O'Neill's best written book by far. It is phenomenally done. I'm just fangirling because I only finished it like yesterday. So it's really hard to put my words into thoughts at the minute. It really focuses on the idea of truth and memory, different people having different truths, and is one of them the right truth, or are both of them right, or that sort of thing. Oh, I was just on the edge of my seat with this, absolutely on the edge of my seat, and I loved the way that things came to the surface later. I think as you read it, you just get dragged down deeper into the story because you realise everything that's been written. Like, say you get to like 3/4 of the way through, you realise something that happened halfway through you have such a new perspective on, and then something that happened like a chapter before, you can't even believe you thought what you thought when you was reading it. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just constantly changing your view on what happens and on just the characters in general, and it's just so amazing. It's my new favourite Louise O'Neill book. I don't know if it's because I read it last night, but to be honest, I don't think it is that. I really think it is that there is such an awe for me of Louise O'Neill writing this book. Like, it is so well done, and the ending and the way that you think something is coming and then you watch how the entire book happened and how the entire, like, how Samantha's whole way that she has built herself as a person, how that has come to be from this 1 second of a moment. I think it's like a paragraph on a page. It makes you go back through everything that's happened and realise, like, this is why she acted like this is why she said this is why she did this. Would really recommend anyone read this book. I adore it. I loved it very, very much. That is all of my thoughts about Louise O'Neill's books, and yeah, my hierarchy of where I find them. Thank you very much for watching this video. I would really be interested in the comments down below if you've read any Louise O'Neill, what you think about her books, if you haven't and there's any that you want to give a try. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!